Welcome to a wonderful night. Ladies and gentlemen, the FlixMate Unlock Launch Party tonight, right now. Tonight is the night. These people behind me have put in a lot of hard work and dedication to make this night come true.
We found a company that believed in us, and today we are actually launching our dream.
Our goal is to support the HBCU community at large, understand and navigate the NIL landscape in college athletics. We do that through 3 pillars, one of this being here that we are today at our inaugural HBCU House initiative, where we look to engage HBCU alumni, students, supporters, brands, the whole community, as far as educating about opportunities and which ways we can support our HBCU students and student athletes.
Whether being able to show up in person or support from a distance, what B Collective and the HBCU Collective has been up to. And so now I'm really excited to make it official, hold hands in the spotlight, so to speak, and start to charge at this work together. And we see a pathway of doing that, not only through what we're doing today with HBCU House and the mentorship pods where students will learn directly from executives in sports, doing the things that they want to do, but even beyond that, and things that we can do with campus events, other stops for this tour, and things that we just haven't even had a chance to think of just yet.
So well, if you don't mind, I was wondering if I can't remember, some places you went and saw, did you see this new surgical suite with the windows?
So I saw a mock-up of it, which they had built. So they had like a cutout in the wall where the window would go, but it was this like mock-up they'd built inside like a design center. So it was inside another building. So I got to watch a team of nurses go through some simulated surgeries in this mock-up.
Interesting. Wow.
Sometime in the 80s or 90s, there was a switch in hospital design and idea and operating, an idea to be more patient-centric for better outcomes and things. And I've lived just long enough and been in the hospital just long enough to have noticed, like the last time that I was there 15 years ago or so, a remarkable change to how the intensive care unit was run, where once upon a time, best people were only allowed to visit one at a time between the hours of 4:15 and 4:25, had a strictly regimented day. And this time when I was there, all these things that you discuss in the book and about why they are, the rooms were individual. They were rearranged so they were easily visible to the staff. Visitors could pretty much come and go anytime. If I wanted to have visitors at 2 in.the morning, they were fine with visitors at 2 in.the morning, all because of this patient-centric approach, right? Design. And so you discuss that in the chapter, and I don't have his name handy, who did some early studies of how to improve outcomes that led to single hospital rooms that could reduce infections, keep the rooms quieter, be more accommodating to visitors, aid patient-doctor communication. Those were big changes, and they seem obvious afterwards, but not before.
Yeah, I mean, and what's really interesting about that history, I think, is in some ways we've gone back to embracing some of the ideas that defined earlier hospital design. So, most viewers have probably heard of Florence Nightingale. They may or may not know that she was really involved in advocating for things in hospitals like ample access to daylight, lots of ventilation and fresh air, nature views. And there were not studies at the time, quote unquote, proving that those things were good, but she and others just had this intuition. And there were hospitals that were designed this way to be sort of open to the air and the environment and these lush courtyards in the 19th century, in the second half of it, especially. But then what happened was, the 20th century came along, we discovered germs, and germ theory took off, and, we can use chemicals and antiseptics to keep everyone infection free, and technology improved. And so hospitals sort of became these hermetically sealed, closed off machines. And the focus was sort of this factory-like model of delivering healthcare. And it sort of took this dual revolution of evidence-based design and, as you said, Jeff, patient-centered care, to realize wait a minute, maybe just efficiency is not the end all and be all. And there are things we can do for patients. And so what we're seeing now is sort of a return to how can we bring light into all the patient rooms? How can we sort of make these places more humane and not just like these warehouses?
And I like that what pops up a lot through the whole book is the nature, a view of nature. So we see, prisons, schools, maybe, and hospitals that, a view of nature in some way, and the shift in lighting and workers, right? So for some reason that is so crucial.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people ask, what are the top things I can do to my space? And usually the first or second thing I say is find a way to bring nature in, because it just has so many benefits. And the sort of cool thing about it is it's great if you can, fill your house with plants or, plant a garden right outside your window. But even if that's not your thing, there are plenty of studies that suggest that just having photographs or images of nature around, even bird song and nature sounds, can have some of the same benefits and stress reducing effects. So that's a really easy way, no matter what kind of space you're in, to try and improve it.
I think I'll tell my boss when I go back to work, because my office has no windows or anything. Whereas when I'm working right here, I have a window, I have natural sunlight, and I have a tree right outside, and I feel so much calmer.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the most consistent findings. They're just study after study supports.
But and you see that going on in all these hospitals I've been in now, where they are single rooms, where they try to arrange windows so that you see a bit of nature rather than a brick wall. It's nice. And it was interesting hearing you talk about antiseptic period in the early 20th century. It would be easy to look back and say, well, those people were horrible Nazis who wanted to control everything. But you give a hint about a different picture where it's the idea of controlling the environment to try to keep it antiseptic, and clean and pure, and things sort of gets out of hand after a while. But the motivation started out in a good place, because people didn't die of sepsis then if you did that. And you got better patient outcomes. And then do you think, any understanding of where this, I don't know if it was sudden, but this big change to this more patient-centric approach and outcomes came from?
It's not entirely clear. I mean, I think it was a couple of factors working together. I mean, I think part of it was, you start to see in the 70s things like the disability rights movement and activism, and sort of more patients advocating for themselves. And then a few decades later, you see the birth of evidence-based medicine, which now to us seems obvious, but it was not. I mean, that was something that was invented, and it sort of came about in the early 90s. And that sort of also sprung this idea, sort of sister idea, of evidence-based design. And if everything we're doing inside a hospital should be supported by evidence, maybe the design of the hospital should be as well.
But some of that also grew with the enabling technology. You couldn't have done a lot of these 21st century data-driven experiments until you had computers big enough, way to handle a terabyte of data a day, and sensors that are able to do all these things. So they grow up together.
Right, absolutely.
I'm thinking of another technology that, well, interestingly, so you started with hospitals and you started with homes and the things that live with us.
Yeah.
And we don't even know they live with us.
Right.
And actually, nobody thought to look, what do you live with? How does that change depending on the family and the person? And some of that couldn't happen until we had the genome sequencing technology, the metagenomics, to just look at everything. You take a sample and just, you can't grow it all, but you can check the genomes and put that, check against the database. So you've got Jack Gilbert, you've got Rob Dunn, and, these people who work on what lives with us. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was pretty early in the book, and that was a good way to start. And do you think people should be shocked by what lives with us or comforted by what lives with us?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that, and I've already started hearing from readers that were like, I think I liked the first chapter, but I don't know if I liked the first chapter.
The first chapter is
about the indoor microbiome.
Yeah, it is that way.
Yeah, and so, I was shocked, even going into it, knowing that researchers are finding a lot. I was stunned by how much is hidden in our homes. I think the researchers I talked to explicitly said, and I tried to communicate, like, this is stunning, but it's really, for the most part, not something to freak out about. I liked the idea of thinking about our homes as ecosystems, just as the outdoor world is. And, there are some disease-causing organisms that can live in our homes, but for the most part, what's there is completely benign. And some of the microbes are even beneficial to our developing immune systems. And so it's really, researchers do not want us to be, Cloroxing the hell out of our houses. This is just sort of a natural part of our indoor world. And I understand why some people might be creeped out. And that's not necessarily like the wrong reaction, but I did try to sort of explain that this is not a bad thing. That, as one researcher told me, like, you don't want to have a sterile house, which is good because none of us have one.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if people are freaked out, we can recommend good reading on the microbiome that we live with
right
inside us. Do you want to justify now why you recommend that your immune system's best friend could be a dog or a cat? I'd like to hear that.
Sure. The dog is probably better than a cat. Mm-hmm. But so there are a lot of studies now that suggest that children who get exposed to a wide diversity of microbes early on in life develop more robust immune systems and are less likely to develop a variety of allergies and autoimmune disorders. And one of the things researchers have discovered is that dogs bring a rich assortment of microbes into the home. And most of these microbes are not sort of damaging or dangerous, but what they do is they increase a home's microbial diversity. And there have been studies that show that kids that grow up with dogs are less prone to a variety of these ailments. And the theory is it's because, in part, of all the different microbes they get exposed to. Cats also do that, but to a slightly lower extent.
Yeah, because your dog goes out and in and out and in many times a day, and
bringing in soil microbes, and then the microbes that live in their bodies, and
so it's largely behavior with the dogs, not so much that dogs travel in a different biome environment than cats do.
Well, it's not entirely clear. The researchers I talked to thought it was probably a couple of things. The fact that dogs tend to be more likely to go in and out. There are some outdoor cats, but dogs tend to spend more time outside, and also their larger body size. I guess in theory, it could also be related to some sort of biological difference between the two. But actually, I don't know if the studies So there have been a lot of studies done on dogs, and there have been studies that show that dogs change a home's microbial makeup more than cats do. But I don't know if the study's been done to look at whether kids who grow up with cats are similarly protected from disease. So that might be something to still do.
You know, I was interested in I think it was Jack Gilbert's work in the hospital, and they said, you know, when one patient leaves, their microbiome's left over. Like you can see evidence of that person's microbiome in the hospital. And then, but when the next person comes in, it doesn't take long until that person's microbiome takes over. And I was like, wow, you would think you would start seeing a mix, or maybe now the new person will start acquiring that other person's microbiome. And I was really interested in that aspect. Like, you know, I think it was shocking to them too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty rapid turnover.
Right?
I'm sorry?
Not long, as Joanne says, it was a few hours or something.
A few hours, yeah.
Yeah, so I think like when patients first come into the room, they tend to pick up whatever microbes are around them. So like whatever has been left on the handrail and stuff like that. But by the time 24 hours have passed, the flow has completely reversed, and it's microbes going from the patient to the room. So yeah.
That's really interesting.
Excuse me.
And, and one more surprising thing was that they could tell within, it wasn't very far, but within a few hundred miles, where you were from based on the samples. You know, you send in microbiome samples and they go, oh yeah, they live sort of near Atlanta, or they would live near Colorado or something. Like, it's that regional specificity that, yeah, I'm like, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, especially the fungi. A lot of the bacteria that live in our homes tend to be correlated with us and come from us in our body. But it turns out a lot of the fungi are from outdoors, and they're like drifting in from outside. And so that means it's really climate dependent. And so that allows researchers to sort of narrow down where a sample comes from.
Yeah.
Parenthetical question. Since this book we could describe, I think, as thoroughly data driven itself, and you've done a great amount of research. There's a lot of very interesting references and such. And since you mentioned researchers you talked to, do you happen to have statistics on how many people you talked to and how many places you visited?
Not off the top of my head.
Very busy for this book.
But yeah, and I interviewed, writers will always say they interview a lot more people than you use, but I feel like this is the most extreme, sort of like the lowest percentage, the most selective I've been about, I would say at least twice as many interviews as appear in the book. So maybe a quarter to a third made it. I guess like 100 to 150.
Yeah.
But I haven't counted.
Was that a matter of what? Keeping things that fit? No, I don't want to say fit as though it's predetermined, but that supported the flow of the book that you were writing. That there's just not room for everything, and some things become diversions from a main thread.
Yeah, it's some of that, and some of, it's an enormous topic, and that was my sort of biggest challenge, was like figuring out what to leave out. And some of it was just, heartbreaking, like, I don't think I'm gonna have time to cover this topic. Yeah. And some of it was just sort of in the normal process of, in order to find sort of like the perfect character or project to illustrate this concept, you don't necessarily hit that on the first try. So it was talking to a lot of people to figure out like who is the best person to feature.
I noted when we were talking earlier, follow-ups.
Right.
You talked to people later on after things had developed some.
Right. And some of it is finding people who are game. Like there are some people, and in every story or project, whose like work is fascinating. It seems like they'd be a great person to feature, but like
So we need to get on a path, start with Medicare for all, and then eventually move to a single payer universal healthcare system that's covered by our taxes. That would make it even, that will put everybody on an even playing field. It would ensure coverage for everyone, make sure everybody, no matter where they live or who they are, has access. But until we do that, instead of trying to beat down the Affordable Care Act, Republicans need to actually try to fix it and make it stronger. They always try to tear it down. They've tried to repeal it so many times, and each time has failed, because what they don't seem to realize is a lot of their own voter base depends on the ACA. And let me say that again. A lot of the Republican voter base depend on the ACA for their coverage. But when you talk to them about that, especially when you're online and in chat rooms or you're having conversations, they don't want to talk about that part, but they need it. They need it and they love it. But when you say when you mention it's from President Obama and you call it Obamacare, then they're all up in arms about, we need to get rid of it. It's high, it's whatever the case is. But
just because of the word Obama,
correct.
They're not realizing, take Obama out of it, Affordable Care Act.
I've seen videos online where people say, the ACA is great. And they say, the ACA is Obamacare, right? No, it's not. And they'll try to argue with the person, but it effectively is Obamacare. And it's the same thing, but people just, based off how you phrase the question, it depends on whether they like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
But to your main question, we definitely need to allow Medicare to negotiate those prices. I know Joe Biden had brought down insulin and capped it at $35 for people. And then when this administration got in office, they removed that cap. So insulin prices are back at record highs again. People unable to afford those insulin medications. We need to cap Medicaid out-of-pocket costs. Additionally, as I said, currently with no ACA subsidies in there, out-of-pocket costs for my family alone, like $11,000 per year, in addition to paying a monthly premium. And I do believe, and this kind of goes into infrastructure too, which we can talk about another time, but I really feel like in rural communities, we need to make sure that we have rural hospitals. We expand Medicaid coverage to reach those people. And in line with infrastructure, we need to strengthen broadband, access to in rural areas, so they can actually have telehealth appointments and they don't have to travel 50, 75 miles for medical care. They can log into an appointment with good broadband and they can have these conversations with their doctor. That saves them on transportation costs. And in some areas where there's not transportation, they'll be able to effectively have their Medicare. They can have their prescriptions sent out to them and they can communicate with their doctors about their health care. So there are many things that we could do, but right now, both sides of the aisle need to stop fighting and work together to be able to come up with a healthcare plan that works for all Americans, puts everybody on an even playing field. And right now, the best solution for that is Medicare for all, until we elect people who are, and we have a greater consensus in Congress that yes, universal health care is something we can do in America and is sustainable and it's something that will help all Americans.
So given that you're a veteran, what can be done better to support veterans and active duty service members here at home? What do you see needing to happen right now?
So this is a question that's obviously very near and dear to my heart here. As a disabled veteran myself, I'll start with veterans. I think that we should take care of veterans to make sure that once they transition out of the military, there is a seamless transition between active duty and them getting integrated into the VA medical system, especially for those who want to submit claims for service-connected disabilities. When I retired, I was medically retired from the military, and I went through a process called the Integrated Disability Evaluation System Framework. And what that did was, while I was being medically retired, I was able to get my VA rating before I was separated. So I already knew what my VA rating was. So what I feel like we need to do to help our veterans and once they transition from the military is we need to have a system based off that Integrated Disability Evaluation System framework. We need to expand that to include it to all service members, not just people who are getting medically discharged. And that way that would work to make sure it would transfer the records from the DOD to the VA. You have a system that talks back and forth, and you will be able to streamline that process to help people do their claims before they get out. So by the time they're out the military, because it's already complicated enough trying to transition from the military and learn how to be a civilian, you know, they don't need the stress of having VA claim issues. So about 6 months, 4 to 6 months before they're going to retire or they're going to separate from the military, they need to go ahead and be able to file their claims while they're on active duty. And the DOD and the VA can communicate and process those claims before and have an answer ready for the veteran before when they get out. So that's something I want to advocate for in Congress, is expanding that. It's called IDES, the Integrated Disability Evaluation System. So be able to expand that to cover all troops. I think that would really help, because right now a lot of veterans get caught up in the claims process. They end up going back in for evaluations 3 or 4 times. They go see multiple doctors. So if we could streamline this process and expand it to cover all military service members who are getting out the military, that would help expedite these claims going through the VA and in that backlog. Now, additionally, for active duty service members, you know, right now, one thing I didn't like was the government shutdown, and there was always questions about whether the military was going to get paid. The things that the military do for us, we should never, ever have them worry about their pay. Because as a veteran, I know that right now there are sailors that are deployed all over this country. There are soldiers and airmen deployed all over the world who are going to be worried about back home, and they're not going to be focused on the mission. And that should never happen. You know, so we need to put something in place. We need to have like a continuing resolution that is automatically triggered if Congress can't agree, and we have an automatic CR where it covers the military and federal employees' pay to where there is no ambiguity on whether they're going to get paid or not. And then for military spouses are probably some of the bravest people, men and women, that I've ever met, because they're the ones that keep the home front tight while their loved one is deployed or out on a training exercise or whatever the case is. They give up so much. They move constantly. In the military, you're moving between anywhere from every 2 to every 5 to 6 years. You have to pick up your life and move to wherever they send you. Like a lot of times you don't get any say in where you go. So we need to make sure we support spouses and being able to extend telework and remote work options to them when they do move. If they have a job in one area and it's feasible for them to keep doing that job at a new location, they should be able to keep that job to have that continuity going, right? And also, and then with kids, you know, we need to establish programs in these schools that help these kids fill the gaps, because a lot of times parents and families, they end up PCSing or transferring to different locations in the middle of the school year, maybe right before the holidays, maybe after the holidays, maybe right before the summer ends. So we need to make sure that these kids don't fall behind because they are, you know, they have gaps in their school year because their parents had to transfer. So we need to do a better job at supporting our military and making sure that, you know, they're protected during budget fights and their families are not caught in the crossfire, because shutdowns, you know, the money stops flowing for PCS transfers. So when they're transferring, if they're in the middle of a transfer and the government shuts down, the funding and resources that they have available to them to assist them, that all stops or it slows down dramatically. So we need to make sure that, you know, we take care of our military and especially our veterans who have already served, and make sure that, you know, we give them the support and resources they need.
And that's funny that you said that with the spouses, because I saw online something I was reading, and it was talking about military wives, and I had no idea, as I'm sure the rest of a lot of us did, that they were really struggling. They're in like food lines and food banks, and you're like, not the spouses of the people who protect us and keep us safe, not being able to, and having food insecurity for military, like you said, spouses. That was very disheartening because I had no idea. And then you as an American, you don't realize sometimes, because sight unseen, we don't see you guys in action like what you were just talking about, other than on 9/11. And I'll never forget, Mission Barbecue does something special for the military every 9/11 or Veterans Day or something. And you see all these military vehicles. And because we're not a country where our troops are posted outside of our doors, you just don't realize how safe our military keeps us every night when you go to sleep. It's because of the men and women like you who protect us. So when you hear about the government not taking care of veterans or disabled veterans or military people, period, it's very disheartening, because we're still the land of the free because of the military people who keep us safe.
Correct. And it breaks my heart to see the military being used as political pawns, because no politician should ever come out their mouth and have to say that I want the military to, get paid, but yet I'm not doing nothing about it to help make sure that happens. They should, military and federal workers, the people who protect this country and keep the government operational, should never have to second guess whether they're going to get paid or not. That pay should always be guaranteed, just like Congress's pay is guaranteed by the 27th Amendment, right? Federal workers, and especially the military, should get their pay, no questions asked. It should never be an issue, regardless of government shutdowns.
Yeah, I agree. So what reforms do you support that'll help to make the government more transparent for those of us who are on the outside? Because I've never been in government, so other than in this capacity, active in legislation and stuff, but never been a federal worker. So yeah.
There's a couple things that I want to do for the district here, right? I want to finally give people, not only in the district, but across the country, I finally want to give the middle class an actual middle class tax cut. The Tax Cuts and Job Act of 2017, I believe it was, for me, speaking personally, I only got a $17 increase in my pay, while the billionaires, got what they got, which was way more. Right. And then in this new tax plan they just passed back during the summer, my taxes are going up about $1,000 a year. And then there are other people, and then the lower tax brackets is going up even more. Right. This tax cut was definitely for the richest Americans and the top 5%. So we need a true middle class tax cut. So I'm looking at, and what I'm considering is, having full relief in taxes for working families up to $250,000 a year, have a full tax cut. And then we should have fair brackets that mirror that for single parents and then single folks who work. So I feel like this, a single mom that lives down in Waldorf should have, the same benefit as a married couple in Bowie or a federal worker in Upper Marlboro. Right? It should all kind of have the same kind of benefit. No one should be more advantageous in this than anyone else for the middle class, because we're all hurting, we're all suffering. So we need a true middle class tax cut. Right now, I always hear people talk about loopholes. We need to close loopholes, but then they never specify, what they are or how we're going to do it. But there are multiple loopholes. There's carried interest. Then there's the offshore profit shifting they do, where they move their profits offshore so they don't get taxed into those tax safe havens. You have real estate write-offs where they don't have any money on paper per se, but they have all these properties and all these other assets that make them have money and value. And then those stock buybacks. Right? Instead of, it used to be companies would take those extra earnings, they would invest it in their workforce, right? They would hire more people, they would expand, they would open new businesses or expand current businesses. They don't do that anymore. Or they would maybe give employee bonuses. Now they buy stock buybacks to only enrich themselves. CEO pay is 300 times higher now than it was when Reagan was in office. And that's speaking lightly of it, right? I mean, CEO pay has exploded while we haven't had the federal minimum wage increase since 2009. It's still 7.25. Wow. And Democrats and other people in Congress have been saying, yes, we need to increase that to at least $15 an hour. I would argue it needs to be at least $18 to $20 an hour to cover for inflation and the rising cost of goods and services because of tariffs and these corporations keep price gouging us.
Yeah, when you talked about the middle class, you hear that often. And what I usually hear from my line of work is people saying there's no benefits for the middle class because they make too much to take advantage of the benefits for people who don't make what they make, but they don't make enough to cover expenses at the next level. And I often wonder, just me not being a tax person and having to go to a tax person, why aren't your taxes equivalent to where you are? If I only make $18,000 a year, why am I being taxed on the same level of someone who makes 250?
Yeah.
You have a lot more resources and access than someone at 18. And then when people were talking about the food stamps and the SNAP, and I heard someone say, and it made a lot of sense, why are people who work full time having to rely on SNAP because they don't make enough money to work, pay their basic costs, and they're working somewhere full time? It's not like a lot of people are just on the system and do nothing. You have people who work every day, 40 hours a week, and still don't make enough to feed their families.
Exactly. And that should never
The
be the case here.
corporations are, yes, to blame. They need to take some ownership of that. Based on the government shutdown, and you were talking about how people should, and I totally agree with you, never not be paid. The federal workers who keep the government going and the military who keep us safe. But given this recent government shutdown, many of the federal workers, what steps would you or steps can Congress take to prevent that from ever happening again? What do you think?
So when the government shuts down, it's not Congress who feels the pain. It's us. It's the middle and the working class folks, the middle class, and the everyday Americans who feel that pinch. Sadly, the majority of Congress, they're 174,000 plus a year, depending on if you're in a leadership position or not. That money doesn't matter to them, honestly, because most of them are already independently wealthy. So when I hear people say, Congress doesn't need to get paid, I kind of chuckle because I'm like, they don't really care about that money anyway, because they have stock portfolios and they're already independently rich because the majority of them have either come from money or they've gained money since they've been in Congress. So that's laughable in itself. Doing anything with Congress regarding their money would kind of be more of a symbolic gesture. But I believe there was a no budget, no pay bill that was proposed. It may have been enacted, I'm not sure. But that money would withhold congressional pay during the shutdown, and it would kind of hold it in like an escrow account. Mm-hmm. And it would just stay collected there, and it wouldn't be paid to congressional leaders and representatives until the shutdown ended. So essentially, they wouldn't get their pay either, because right now, a lot of people don't understand the dynamics of Congress. The Constitution has congressional pay. It's permanently appropriated, which means they get paid no matter what. Like they can't refuse their pay. Now they can get it and donate it, or we could pass something like this where it's kept in escrow where they don't get it till the shutdown opens, but you can't just stop Congress's pay. And a lot of people don't really understand that. So I'll kind of repeat what I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the military. Like, I think we should have that automatic continuation resolution that automatically triggers when there's not a consensus on the budget, that this automatically triggers. That way federal employees, the military, and other folks who receive a government paycheck, those funds still keep flowing at current spending levels for the previous fiscal year. So those two things, I think, are something that we should be able to find consensus on in Congress, because everyone supports paying federal workers. Everyone wants to make sure the military gets paid, right? So I don't really see a problem with having those continuing resolutions that's automatically triggered if they don't get those 12 appropriations bills signed by September 30th of any given year. And, having their pay taken away from them, I would say, you could either donate it and have them help pay down the federal debt, which they keep rising, so they can donate their pay. Because congressional salary for an entire year is $193 million a year. We pay Congress. That's how much. 174,000 times 535 members of Congress, the both chambers. Probably a little more when you count in the speaker and the minority leader and all that stuff. But that's $193 million a year that we pay Congress to essentially do nothing. I mean, look how long Congress has been out of session. The House has been out since September 19th. They take more breaks, more vacations than any American that I know, saying they're going home in their districts. But when they're back in their districts, they don't even hold town halls. And if they do, it's a virtual one, like I said earlier, that only lasts an hour and they only answer 5 questions. So they're not really putting the work. Right. They're not really putting the work in to earn that $174,000 and collectively that $193 million a year that the American taxpayers pay them. So yes, they do need to have some accountability, and there's ways we can do it.
What's going on, everybody? Y'all know what it is, man. It's your boy Pitts, Bowie TV, coming to you live, red carpet, HBCU On Air Awards. It's going down. Who else but me, everything HBCU, SWAC, MEAC, SEAC. Don't forget about the CIAA. But listen, tonight is special. We're going to bring you some special guests, honorees, award recipients. Listen, tune in. Y'all already know what it is. Bowie TV got you tapped in. Shh, but don't tell everybody else. It's your boy Pitts, Bowie TV. Get at me. And listen, man, last year we spoke, you was attending, today you're performing, man. Yeah. Like, just talk about the excitement. We already talked about Coppin and everything, what an HBCU meant to you. But talk about what is it like for you to perform on a night like tonight, celebrating, again, Black excellence.
It means everything. Last year, again, I was here as an honoree, and here to support. And I was we hadn't announced it at the time, but the reason I was here is because the buzz was in the air about the new job at on WHUR 96.3 WHUR. Howard University, the Mecca, the campus. You know what I mean? And so to be here a year later, have the #1 nighttime music show in the DMV. The show's been #1 for an entire year, but also get my roses as a recording artist. To go down the list of all these hits, soul and R&B. It's been a humble journey. I'm thankful.
Can you talk about what is it about HBCUs that resonates with you and that you can share and use along your personal and professional journey?
So what resonates with me is Black excellence. I'm gonna keep saying that because that's a key factor when it comes to success, period, with Black people. Just seeing people overcome and just hitting obstacles, overcoming the obstacles, and not letting nothing take that away from them.
Absolutely.
So positivity and just keep striving to do better.
What school did you go to?
FAMU.
Okay, then the SWAC. The SWAC. So my question to you is, what is it about the HBCU culture that resonates with you personally, and how has it influenced your journey personally and professionally?
I don't know where I would be without an HBCU. I grew up watching a different world. That was the first representation of college for me, and so I knew at a very early age that I was going to go to an HBCU, and it was the first place that I've been in my life where I felt seen, where I felt fully supported, where I felt like I could reach an unlimited level of potential with like-minded individuals that push each other for forward progress. And so it has meant everything to me, and it really shapes who I am, the leader that I am today. Would not be possible had it not been for my education at Florida Agricultural Mechanical University.
And thank you for your contributions for making a special night like tonight happen.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. My name is Terrence. I'm with Bowie TV.
Yes.
If you can tell me, what does it mean? What does HBCUs mean to you?
Culture, Black excellence. HBCU to me is just showing Black folks at a strong excellence.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this year is a great year for African Americans, especially for what we've been going through. So when I think about the HBCU culture, building Black excellence, that's really on my heart.
Yeah, and when you talk about building, or you see how celebrities come about, and Deshaun Jackson at Dell State this year, and you see the notoriety that it gives HBCUs, how exciting would it be if we can really get a lot of more, culture, us, put it into the HBCUs and really helping it grow like it once was for us?
Yeah, it's for us. That's one thing. I think HBCU is the interest of building Black excellence. Many stories. Understand with HBCU what it brings, what it builds, what it creates, what it nurtures. I'm telling you, if everybody just tap in, the world will be a better place.
Absolutely. How you doing? My name is Terrence Pitts. I'm with Bowie TV. It's nice to meet you ladies on tonight.
Bowie TV.
Yes.
I'm the president of AIDA chapter at Bowie State University.
Oh, and that's funny. So I have a platform where I cover all HBCUs, and I partner and I do a lot with Bowie State Athletics. So football, softball, volleyball, bowling, everything. I'm there on campus almost every week. Wow, you as well. So I'm gonna ask this question to you, now. How does it feel for you to be an HBCU student, right, and to see all this Black excellence celebrating and highlighting HBCUs?
It truly feels great to see all of our people come together, all of our D9 leaders come together and to celebrate service and also sisterhood. So it truly is a great experience.
Awesome. And then for you, if you can sum up HBCUs and what it means to you in one word, what would it be?
Well, I'm the byproduct of HBCU parents. I have an HBCU sibling, and I went to Howard University on exchange. So as the Alpha Kappa Alpha North Atlantic Regional Director from DC to Maine, we have many HBCUs in our region, and we give scholarships to our HBCU students. So I love HBCUs.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Boo.
What's the enduring impact of HBCUs on global talent, innovation, and leadership? And why is their role so vital for fostering success today?
And did the work.
You're right about that. And what would you say to the future HBCU students to come to an HBCU, embrace the culture, embrace the impact, be the future lawyer, doctor, even president of the United States?
I wish I had gone to an HBCU.
You didn't go to an HBCU?
I did not. I did not.
Well, as an HBCU alumni, you are official. So thank you very much, Mom.
Try to do is just try to put it on social media, as our generation is on social media a lot, and it has helped the younger generation. I know I like to give back, so with all the opportunities and all the knowledge I know, I make sure I give back to whoever it is, and maybe older, younger, anybody.
Again, my name is Pink Elsie, and I am a senior at Texas A&M University. I just want to say it's really about leaving a lasting impact. Once individuals and other students see that you're making that impact, they want to follow along. So it's really a trend these days.
Hi, everyone, again. And to piggyback off what Pink said, I would also say it have to do with representation. That's when we're denying representation, because I feel like we're all about representing our HBCUs and kind of leaving that legacy, like she said, and just making it work for upcoming ambassadors and students who also want to represent their HBCU, especially in times like this where we need to all come together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We wanted to have a piece to go here, seeing something of this magnitude. Well, every year for the past 5 years, we graduated 100% to 99% of our young people, and making sure that 98% go on to post-secondary. But HBCUs have always been the foundation of our community. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you. God bless. HBCUs, my parents met at Circle State University, so I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for an HBCU. So that is a huge mark on my journey, but also making sure that all of our young people have access, and that is what HBCUs have always done, and we try to do here at Duke Ellington every day.
Absolutely. We are here at the Duke Ellington School of Arts, and I was a communications major in college. How do you continue in your mission as principal to continue the excellence of the arts, no matter where you go in life?
Well, we make sure that our teachers are actively working artists, so they are on the front line, still engaged in the community and careers, and so our young people get firsthand what it means to be an artist in these times.
Absolutely. Well, Principal Logan, keep up the great work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Martise, how are you?
Hello, hi, this is Ashley Hamilton. We're both Gilead Science.
Oh, yeah, no. I talked to someone, another Ashley. I'm sorry, I talked to someone. But anyway, how are you? Why is it important to celebrate HBCU tonight? The third annual HBCU Arts?
Well, listen, HBCU graduates and the institutions make such a contribution to America, to our society. And one of the reasons that we are here today as Gilead scientists is we're doing work to end the HIV epidemic for everyone, everywhere, and working with HBCUs are really key to us solving HIV in our communities. And secondly, we believe in building Black and brown communities and Gilead sciences. And so Ashley Hamilton is a great example of a talent who interned with us at Gilead, and now is one of our employees.
How you doing today, sir?
Wonderful. How you doing?
I'm good. My name is Terrence Pitts. I'm with Bowie TV.
How you doing?
And I just want to, if you can, just highlight the importance of the excellence and what legacy means on a night like tonight.
Well, listen, tonight as celebrating HBCUs, the graduates, as well as the institutions are every day producing some of the best black talent that we have. It's such an honor, so incredible to be here.
We thank you very much at Bowie TV for all your contributions.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you doing, Miss Shirley Caesar? How are you doing tonight? Take the mic, yes, ma'am. So, how you doing? I'm Terrence Pitts, and I'm with Bowie TV. One, thank you so much for all of your paving the way, your gospel music, and the black excellence tonight. And if you can you just highlight what a night like tonight means to you, celebrating HBCUs and black excellence?
I'm so glad that they kept right on until they got the schools, the right schools for us. And I'm one of them.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Shirley, as a HBCU alum of Shaw University, what were some of your fondest memories of choosing Shaw and graduating from an HBCU?
It was wonderful. And math was not really my favorite, but that particular subject and there was another one, I can't think of it right now, but people are everywhere. This is wonderful. Thank you.
How you doing, Miss Shirley Caesar? How are you doing tonight? Take the mic, yes, ma'am. So, how you doing? I'm Terrence Pitts, and I'm with Bowie TV. One, thank you so much for all of your paving the way, your gospel music, and the black excellence tonight. And if you can you just highlight what a night like tonight means to you, celebrating HBCUs and black excellence?
I'm so glad that they kept right on until they got the schools, the right schools for us. And I'm one of them.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Shirley, as a HBCU alum of Shaw University, what were some of your fondest memories of choosing Shaw and graduating from an HBCU?
It was wonderful. And math was not really my favorite, but that particular subject and there was another one, I can't think of it right now, but people are everywhere. This is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
How you doing, Miss Stephanie Page?
I couldn't be in a better
I'm good. My name is Terrence. I'm with Bowie TV. How are you doing tonight on tonight?
Great. Bowie TV,
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
say? Oh, right up the street from Morgan State University.
Not too far from it, absolutely.
Okay.
Just talk about tonight. And what does HBCUs mean to you in one word?
As a twice graduate of HBCU, as a family of HBCUs, my husband, the first African American Secretary of Education, Rod Page, Jackson State, my daughter Spelman, HBCU made, and it's excellent.
Thanks for hearing. Appreciate it, man.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Terrence with Bowie TV.
All right.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you as
So
well.
when you talk about the importance of HBCUs, especially amongst us black men, and why we should invest and attend our culture HBCU.
Well, in this climate, HBCUs should be the most important to an African American person of color. Being that the climate is what it is, they're trying to erase our history. So we need to be at HBCUs.
You know, with this being the third year, we talked about it last year and what this means to you, right, Ms. Bailey? When you look at this year, just talk about the first thing that comes to your mind when you walked in here and seen just all of the people surrounded. What's the first thing?
Speechless. I'm totally speechless because when I had the idea with just talking it through to someone who shared my passion, my vision. Dorinda, Michelle G, took it to the next level, and so it just blessed, speechless, all the things. We're just so grateful to be here again and see this grow. I can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe it. It's kind of pinch me because I'm just in shock about it. But it just reinforces the need, right? People want to hear our great stories because our stories matter. We want to hear our stories. And we have so many great stories that haven't been told. we have expanded the program. Thanks to Dorinda, we got the young people involved. We're going to be introducing our media futures tonight, representing Johnson C. Smith, representing Lincoln University in Missouri, and of course, my alma mater, my beloved alma mater, Spelman College. So we're excited. We got the students from Duke Ellington. Have you been here before?
No, this first time.
This is amazing, right? The students, the staff, everybody is incredible. So I don't know if you know, at the reception, we've got Duke Ellington's quartet, and then we have a soloist. She's performing. And so we're like, we get all this. We got an intern, and we got interns from different HBCUs locally. We have interns from the school who are getting hands-on experience in the creative fields, and then learning some life lessons. So it's not just all about the media industry, but they're seeing us collectively working together, doing all the things, inspiring them for their success story. So we're so excited. Yes.
Can I get you to do a Bowie TV song? Say thank you, Bowie TV.
Dude, thank you, Bowie TV, again, for showing up and showing out. We